Hey, welcome back to Charlie Mike Woodworks Design. I'm James. Welcome to the shop. Today we're going to make a couple of dog feeding stations. Now, they're not the entire station. I'm going to do that in the future for a future build. One of them, the top needs to be replaced. The other one actually doesn't have a top. It just has some wiring, and you put the bowl in there. And I mean, it's good, but it look a little nicer. So we're going to make it look a little nicer. Now, we're going to get to the math later, but first thing, we are actually going to use a 1x12 for the top, okay? 10 3/4 wide from front to back for the first one, and 20 1/4 inch long, okay? Left to right. And you can see for the other one. That is what we're going to do, and then we are going to stain it and seal it. Okay, we're going to seal it with some shellac on top of our stain, because shellac is safe. My dogs, especially one of them, he likes to lick a lot, so that way he doesn't try to eat it. But we're going to make this happen. We'll come back for the math later. But for now, let's Charlie Mike.
Always make sure you're using respiratory, eye, and hearing protection, because we want to do this fun stuff again tomorrow. Here, just cutting the boards down to their final length, width, whatever you want to call it, and here we just trim up the sides. Of course, we have to have a little sanding, not just once, but multiple times.
And now for the part everybody's been waiting for, mathing. So what you have to do, instead of just taking the bowl and placing it on a piece of board and drawing around it and hoping that you get it correctly, the right thing to do is to take the circumference. You can do this with a cloth tape or a piece of twine and then measure it out long ways, whatever you want to do. So for example, the first one, the smaller dog, that is, those feeding bowls are 22 3/4. Divide that by pi, okay? So by doing that, I get my diameter, right? And to divide that by 2 gives me my radius, okay? So what we'll do is we'll actually mark a hole directly in the center after we've done all our measurements, and take a piece of twine and just kind of circle around, and then that's where we're going to cut. I'll show you all that in a little bit. And just to double check and to make sure, because of the thickness of the material, what you do is you take from the outside of the bowl to the outside of the bowl from the top, okay? For example, this is 8 1/4. Now there's that lip, right, that it sits on top of, or it's kind of curled under. So you have two sides of that, right? Right. So you're going to take that, which is 1/2 inch, times that by 2, minus that from the diameter from top to bottom, whatever, from side to side, divide that by 2, and you end up with 3 1/2, which means my radius is roughly 3 1/2 ish. So it's not difficult. You just have to sit there and think about a little bit, but that's not a problem. We're going to make this happen, and we're going Charlie Mike.
Once you find the center of the overall board, then you find the center of each half. Very simple. Just go corner to corner, draw 2 lines. Where they intersect is the center. That is going to be the starting point of your radius. And what I did was I took a piece of board that I measured out for the exact radius and chose a marking device, in this case a pencil, and I attached that in the center to exactly the start point of my radius. And then all I did was pivot around. So to cut out that center, I just use a drill bit and then jigsaw around, and it makes it a little bit easier. In hindsight, I'd probably use a smaller drill bit and not cut or not drill as many holes. Again, always have respiratory, eye, and hearing protection, especially when you're going to use a router. I start off using a flush trim bit, and then I follow up with a roundover, not just on the insides, but also on the outsides to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Do another little bit of sanding to make sure everything is nice and smooth on the face before I go on and stain. I use a foam brush to apply 2 coats of stain because, let's face it, it makes it a little darker. Then I use some shellac because shellac is a little bit safer for my animals, especially the boy dog who likes to try to chew everything. Line everything up, do some pre-drilling, and then attach the hardware, the screws and the cable clips essentially that I found, and everything goes in pretty good. On this one, this already had a top, which was pretty rough as you saw, so what I did was I replaced that top and of course lined it up. It's all held in with literally just 4 screws. Those were in pretty good shape, so I went ahead and just continued to use them.
Who likes their new bowls? Can you shake? That's a good boy. Oh, that's my pretty girl. That is my baby girl. What? Say, Charlie Mike. Charlie Mike.